right, let's look at Melbourne City, the champions and second in the A-League table last year with their record of 14 wins, 6 draws, 6 losses. Vidmar came into the season with question marks but proved the doubters wrong straight away, and they were the least goals conceded, very strong at the back, and they look strong again this year, although a bit younger. They're less than one per game, so it just goes to show how hard they'll break down. They do have Asian Champions League, though, to deal with this year and have shown a lot of young talent, obviously, in the Han Cup and in the Asian Champions League due to a number of players being at the Under-20s World Cup and obviously other commitments. They have number one in big chances missed, though, so need to be a little bit more clinical. But when you finish second in the champions, it's only fine margins. They dealt with a huge injury crisis during the season by being forced to use a lot of young players, but they thrived and they have been a production team and they invest very heavily in the youth system. And you can see that again through their side this year. You probably look at them first look and you see them a lot in the Han Cup and the Champions League and go, wow, there's the talent there, but can they match it in the A-League with the physicality? But they definitely look very silky and have got a lot of young talent. So what's changed? They are in the ACL Elite this year, and just really unfortunate those young team that went over to Japan and just lost 1-0 in that final couple of minutes. Would be great experience for them. They've had a good pre-season. They did lose to Apia in the Han Cup as well. That was a bit of a cup set, and we're obviously good preparation for obviously this A-League. Let's look at the players in and out with Chief. Let's go through the players.
Yeah, I think one good thing from last season, as I said, as you said, so they did have a lot of injuries to their experienced players. But what it did do is force them to play those young players, and the likes of Lawrence Wong and Medan Mehmedi, Max Caputo came back at a really crucial time for them from his injury as well. So they were able to actually get through those games reasonably unscathed. And then even when some of the more experienced players came back, some of those younger players kept their spots. So yeah, real credit to Aurelio Vidmar, who did a fantastic job with his squad last season. And yeah, as you said, plenty of pressure on him to start with, but yeah, he can't say too much about him because yeah, champions. So let's have a look at their ins. Probably when you look at it, only two coming from outside. So Takeshi Kanamori has come in. Saw a bit of him in that ACL Elite game and looked pretty sharp. Liam Bonity also comes in at the back as well. So very promising young talent that obviously went to the Under-20 World Cup as well. A lot of the other ones being brought up through their academy. So Beckham Baker, Elbasan Rashani, Bessian Kutleshi, Hakeem Gerard, huge raps on Hakeem Gerard actually, and Matthew Baker as well. Outgoing is Stephen Ugarkovic, who's gone to the Western Sydney Wanderers. Harry Politides has gone to MacArthur. Arian Suleimani to Perth. Callum Talbot also to MacArthur. James Jago has retired. Marco Tilio obviously back to Celtic, but now has since got to move away from Celtic as well. And Jonathan Cohen announced that he was leaving a little bit after the season as well, him being obviously the one who scored the crucial goal in the grand final. And they've made a couple of good signings. I think they've really, with their promotions from their academy and the re-signings, they've got a real intent for what they want to do this season and continually bring through their youngsters. And I know a few of the Melbourne City fans are a bit concerned in that way that they have only brought in youngsters, but I think that's going to be of benefit to them longer term.
Yeah, you look at they're owned by the City Group and obviously high standards there, and they've been very consistent throughout the A-League. Average crowd of 6,192. They'd love to see that increase, but they're stable. They've got stability. They're in the Champions League. They are the champions. As I said, second last year, and they're just a production line, aren't they? And look, we're not just talking about talented youngsters. We're talking about top tier youngsters because they've always been able to produce that top tier. And the A-League's kind of a young man's game at the moment, isn't it? You've seen that shift and change in generations in the last couple of years. So would have been more concerned a few years ago if they had that many youngsters in, but now it's that kind of breeding ground, the A-League, and you see more and more youth come through, and we're talking top tier here. There's some real talent on these books.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to seeing how these young players get on. Let's read out a bit of fan feedback, which we asked for and we really appreciate. So the first one from CM Punk is back, who says Melbourne City, with the youth movement they're going, I think they will struggle against the bigger sides, aka Victory, Sydney, Auckland, but should finish top six. Players to keep an eye on: Harry Shillington, Akeem Gerald. Yeah, as I mentioned before, plenty of people talking about him. Nasovsky, Kutleshi, and Lawrence Wong as well. And then from Twizzler on YouTube, they think they'll finish third. Players to keep an eye on: Max Caputo, Kavian Rahmani, and Takeshi Kanamura. They're signing. And then in terms of hopes and fears, he hopes the academy products pay off, and his fear is injuries, which they had plenty of last season.
I think the challenge, I can see the point in with the youth, but wow, if you watch Vissel Kobe and those players really standing out, and you're talking about top tier league, top tier team that's fighting out the championship in J League. They held their own, and I think if they can hold their own at that level, I'm super confident they could hold their level at A League. They might, yeah, struggle against the Auckland sides, a bit more experienced, but if you look at Sydney, they're just young. So and obviously, look at Newcastle; they're just as young as well. So Victory, they've got a mix of experience and youth. So a lot of these players, definitely from the city, are definitely on that younger bracket, but they are definitely holding their own already at this level. That's why I think their top tier talent will get them through. And I still tip them to come third. I think they're in the top 3 or 4 for me for sure. What about players to watch though? You got Liam Bonatig that's come back from overseas. Maxi Caputo had a good under 20s campaign, scored a couple of goals. Lawrence Wong, Patrick Beach, Kai Truan. He could be the A-League Player of the Year. Is I think he's in for a big year. Kai Truan, whether they play him that 6 or whether they play him central defence, they're going to be very hard to break down. And like you said, I think the key will be whether Max Caputo can actually lead that line will be the defining factor in where they land in that top 6.
Just funny thing, you look at Kai Truan and Liam Bonatig, like they really could be your central defenders, but they've also got the experience of Sopran and Ferreira as well. So plenty of experience for these guys to learn from. But I wouldn't be shocked if at some point that season Truan and Bonatig are playing together. And it's no surprise that these players we're looking at, we know plenty about them already because Max Caputo, obviously under 20 World Cup. Lawrence Wong was fantastic when he came in last season. I think he's got an injury to start the season, so it might be a little bit until we see him. Patrick Beach, plenty think that he's next cab off the rank for the Socceroos. You'd say that those top 3 keepers are the best we've got so far, but plenty think that he might be next in line as the 4th keeper. So, yeah, plenty of talent in that squad and very exciting to see how they get on and how they defend their championship. Let's look at their first 5 games, mate. They've got the Wanderers first up, and then they play an Asian Champions League game at home. Then they've got the Glory, Brisbane, another ACL game, this time in Japan. And then they've got Melbourne Victory and Adelaide. So not too bad a run to start the season. Like we said with MacArthur, they're going to have to balance their Asian commitments as well. I've got them second. I think they're going to have a really great season. And I know that a lot of other people have them a bit lower down, but I really think that they can back up what they did last season.
Yeah, the big Melbourne Derby, 8th of November. It's just a shame they have to come back from Machida. I've got in a short recovery time for that. So, look, it'll be exciting, 8th of November. So, no doubt the fans will get out for that one. But, yeah, look, I think onward and upward for City. They've always produced and they've always developed young youth. So, they're looking pretty promising. If you're a City fan, I think you're in for another good year.